Welcome back. Thank you for keeping it. NBS Television is still the topical discussion, and Thursdays gets into the economies. We're looking at the issues of the traders that did lead to a two-day strike that's been going on that was just put to rest as the engagements continue between the traders and government side yesterday. That meeting was as well attended by the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Robina Nabanja. And I do have the acting chairman of 𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐛𝐞 with me here, Mr. Issa Sechito. Have you failed on engagement that we keep having a back and forth?
We have not failed on engagement. We are only seeing some treachery.
From which side?
Yes, because when you are in the corridors, people will tell you, but you people are right. But now, the president wants this. We tell these people, can we go to the president? You tell him the right thing. Say, I still need my job. This business of I need my job is very dangerous to this country. That is one piece. The other one, of late, the Uganda Revenue Authority is faced with a very huge challenge of indecision making. You go to
the officers themselves.
Yes, you go to the officer, is a junior officer. We even gave expressions of officers who said, no, I have no competence to handle these garments. Can you choose another officer? Now, not that that person cannot do the verification,
but
the fear factor that has been created within the Revenue Authority. Everybody fears to take a decision because of the expulsions and suspensions that are so rampant in the URA. You commit a simple mistake and they will chase you. Therefore, before I am chased, let me not take a decision. I forward the matter, the officer will take to the manager will forward it to the supervisor will take to the commissioner. The commissioner will say, okay, I'm investigating. By the time all that is happening, that is a month. So the delays at the bonds, the lack of stock at the shop, I paid. You don't give me final
How often
answers.
do you engage with the commissioner? Because I want to believe as the leadership.
We do. Even when I call now, he will pick.
Yeah.
If he pick my number and refer me to where we had a disagreement. For example, I have an appeal at DPC. If you go to the trade for evaluation issue, then they send me back to DPC. What would the person that we disagreed that at the document processing center do? Either dilly-dally me or make me suffer.
So when you talk about the issue of I still want my job,
yes,
does that also mean the president is either not receiving the information you want him to get or he's receiving the wrong information?
He's receiving both, but like I told you, we have a gap. We have a missing link. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives
I was about to ask, you have a ministry.
Has not been so helpful to us. I put it on them that they have ignored us. During the time of Honorable Amelia Chambade, if she had anything about 𝐬𝐫𝐢𝐛𝐞 or any other organization, she would call you so that she gets the nitty-gritties of all the issues. By the time you go to either the Minister of Finance, to the Prime Minister, or to the President, she's the one that would lead us into the discussions. You only supplement. Today you appear there, the ministry will look on. And it is the representative ministry. That is something that has been in for a while.
Is it indecision? Is it that they are not interested in your conversations?
I don't want
to. Do they not understand
if I try to name it, I might offend many people. Let me leave it at that. They are ignoring us. If I go into why, I might dent people's reputations. Excuse me, I'll leave it at that. And they should change.
That comes from
I don't think they are incompetent. No, I don't think they are incompetent. They are only ignoring us. If you receive a letter, I can show you that the petition that I personally signed, this was my very first signed document as the chairman of 𝐬𝐫𝐫𝐢𝐻𝐞, the acting chairman of 𝐬𝐬𝐫𝐾. It was this is my signature. I signed it on the 5th of August. All authorities, Prime Minister...
This is received by Private Sector Foundation, the Security Registry Office of the Prime Minister, East African Affairs. So, how come that even Uganda Revenue Authority is here, including UMBS?
On the 15th, few days to the demonstration, I received a letter from the Honorable Bahati telling me, please wait, tell the traders not to demonstrate. Government is internally consulting to look into your issues. You have 9 agencies receive your petition and you don't have any... If I was the Minister of Trade then, the moment I would receive this, I would not write a letter calling for the stoppage of the demonstration. I would only call the business people, their team, to explain to me to understand why. And then I would go to cabinet or to the president, I make a brief, and then I would preempt the demonstration. While still at it, let's talk about the involvement of the Chinese, because how does it come about? We thought these are foreign direct investors who've put up, they've put up industries, they produce the products that Ugandans get to buy on wholesale and come and retail later. We have made every research in the Trade Licensing and the License Act, the Investment Code of 2019, the Trade Licensing Act is of 2012. We made it, amended it with the Honorable Maria Chambad on the lead. We put all provisions that would protect a small trader. We put all provisions that would enable foreigners on how they operate. The Investment Code 2019 clearly stipulates that if you came as a manufacturer, stay at that. If you go to open a shop, to open, to vend, like they are moving across the country, you are in Hoima, you are in Ruwero, you are in Mbale, you are everywhere. They use vehicles to go to markets and submit to every individual shops. All this is an abuse of the Investment Codes and the Trade Licensing Act. Unfortunately, nobody is touching them. Go to Benchwanuka today, go to Nabugabo today. You go to buy gumboots, for example, from a factory in Inamamve, from a manufacturer who is a Chinese. You pay 8,000 per piece so that you may sell 9 or 10,000 at the shop. The vehicle of a Chinese would follow you and park outside on the street. They would sell the same piece at 8,000 per pair. You just imagine if this happens to Mbale, to Mutukula, happens to Ruwero, my home area, where am I going to sell? If you sold it to me at wholesale, I bet 10,000 pairs. Where do you want me to sell this? Is the Ministry of the angle of privatization and investment under the Ministry of Finance informed about this? What has been done since? Our entry point into the ministry is the PSST, Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, or directed to the Minister. It is not us to go particularly to who will follow up on a matter. If a petition reaches the ministry, the allocation to where it will be handled is done by the PSST. We clearly do that. Has the PSST responded about the same? Yes, he has even responded to the previous demonstration that we did a year ago. He promised heaven on earth. But they got involved. Mr. Kagwa has tried all his efforts. He's the Director for Economic Development, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. He's the one who caused that there is even a change with his team of taxation policy. We changed from 35% to 25%. Let us reduce by $1. We told him it will not work even before it was made. But said even passing this, the high authorities don't want it. I don't want to cause people's jobs problems. But at times, if you don't say the truth, things are not going to be sorted. The matter of taxes in kilos is a protection of the president. I put it upon him. That's why we insisted even to the Prime Minister, please, while you are going to handle this, understand it clearly so that you can explain to the President how much dent it is causing on the economy. The Chinese, when I go further deep into it, if you go to China as a Ugandan, you arrive at the airport, there is a disclaimer at the airport. You are not allowed to do business here if you're a foreigner, even if it is for free. Wallahi, that board is at the airport in Beijing. It's very difficult for you to operate a business there unless it is in the factory, unless it is a service and you're a professional. But opening a shop in any city in China is not as simple. So it's our come to Kampala, what we do, Issa Sechito will front himself as if he's the one going to open a shop. The Chinese, 5 of them or 10 would lie behind him, and the He Company Limited belongs to Issa Sechito, who would either take one share in the company or benefit out of some cheap popularity, get it something minor, and then the company will operate, even people offloading. So you agree there is no patriotism, because at the end of the day, the face of these companies are Ugandans. You know, it's you and me. While we are trading a government, even these people needed to be exposed, because what they are doing is illegal. And there is section 101 of the Trade Licensing Act. If they are if it's found to be true, cancellation. There is no way out of it. Nobody is cancelling even one. We one time during Afande Kaihora's regime as the IGP, we went to the president. We explained to him. He told the IGP, Kasita, Immigration, and other authorities to find out the truth about how some of the illegal people even staying here without working permits, expired visas. I am telling you, arrested like 25 of them, operating free at the shops without any guidelines. Before they reached the airport, the Prime Minister then, Nduguruha, you just imagine the impunitism. So when they come back, they following it down, they go back to the same shops. Other than closing, what would you Kasita do? So we are being let down by the government. We are not xenophobic. But also let down by our very own citizens. Yes, the president called me after the demonstration of last year. I'm sure he will talk to me even this time. I explained to him the gist of the matter, why people are closing business, why they are so much interested in working. On the issue of the Chinese, told me, Issa, encourage your people not to be xenophobic. We are not, because we are in every country trying to survive as Ugandans. We wouldn't want to be looked at as people that don't want other people to be here. We're only agitating for orderliness, trade order. If the people in charge of trade, if the people in charge of immigrations, if people in charge of investment, if people in charge of all these can do their work, we can very well survive with anybody across the world. Ugandans are very competitive. Unfortunately, we are being crippled, while the laws that we have made, strategically after analyzing them, nobody is implementing them. All right, our time is really fast spent, but what is the lasting solution? Because what we seem to be discussing is somewhat parallel to the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy, which you acknowledge is very good. Yes. Maybe because of the capacities that we do have, but we also cannot be able to promote importation forever. Yes. There needs to be a point in time where we get to build capacity locally to produce those products that we do buy, so that we can keep those jobs. Production is not magical, my sister. You cannot find one country in the world that is self-sustained. True. Uganda can't do the magic. Therefore, but a particular product, what we need to do, there are particular areas where I need to concentrate. Yes. It is me who highlighted for the viewers the tiles that are being manufactured in Namunkekera. Very good ones and very competitive. we have no problem with them. There are areas, if you say you are making the gin 12, and you are only at the level of showing at a showing machine like the people at Ham are doing, and the people of Ham are not protected. All right? That's not the value addition that we would wish. The idea was that if we bring a full-fledged company here that can process from cotton to the cloth, we would protect anybody. But here we are, you don't have the raw material in form of these other items that we use for making the jeans, the khakis and everything. The materials are not here. You import them, cut and sew. This is not what will help Uganda come out of this. What will help Uganda is being concentrating in, especially in the agro industry where we have comparative and competitive advantage. The coffee, the mango, the pineapple, and all these kind of things.
There's always a starting point also. Don't box us in the agro.
No, I must box you in the corner because we cannot be competitive in the world in making watches because we don't have the raw materials for making the watches. Can we opt for a better deal?
Okay.
While we go value addition, we would support. Can we go into the packaging industry so that all the factories that are making here may have brought a factory making very good packaging material. Luca Plastics is one of the best now in the region for making these items for milk packaging and everything. Can we have other items where the source of raw material has a component on the Ugandan raw materials?
Okay.
So if we don't do that, we shall bring every company here, they will fleece us, and at the end of the day they are just repatriating. One of the major issues also in this document was that we go buy the goods with the same Chinese in China, in the same factories. When we reach the borders, they say these are raw materials, and then they don't pay the dues. Me, I pay 12, 20, 30 millions. They go to offload in the stores and come to the market. What I sell 10,000, they will sell 6,000 or 7,000 because they didn't pay the taxes. We have documented this and nobody wants to take a precedence. What do you want people to do?
Okay.
So we can't keep quiet. That's why at times we extremely come out with the decisions of closure so that somebody wakes up. For example, if you wrote such a document having all these signatures, and nobody responds, while a day to the closure, you say, Kasita, I've sent you a letter, tell those traders not to demonstrate.
After receiving and stamping received, do they get to respond?
I know. Until you close, then they come out. So this is something that we call ignoring us. I don't know for what reasons.
Okay.
But for whatever the reasons, I just wish government interacts more often than not. Because the Prime Minister ordered that we should be having an engagement with the officer at least quarterly every year. So every 3 months, we can update her.
On what
this would be work that the Minister of Trade would do.
Is doing well.
Even we do not even wait for the quarterly communications. It would be monthly, so that in a year at least we are meeting 12 times. So that the Cabinet Minister of Trade or anybody in that shoe goes to update cabinet while the issues of the traders on the fingertips.
On the fingertips. Yes. We need to go, but very finally, what is your promise to the traders from the meeting and moving forward? Because this back and forth seems not to be helping. I
am supposed to have started even today. As I live here, all traders who have goods that are pending, we were ordered by the Prime Minister, let us locate the reasons why they are in the bonds. We were given only 1 week to have evacuated all these goods, whatever the reason for which they are being held. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have goods, bring your PRNs, you bring your TIN numbers, bring your entry numbers so that we can go to the committee. We're facilitated with the information and we can sort that. 2, the Prime Minister gave us 30 days for this major challenge of charging taxes in kilos, because it is the elephant in the room. The smuggling, the misclassifications, the hiding of goods, the bribery that has forced many senior officers to be laid off work, because people want to dodge the high taxes payable in kilos. So if we remove this monster called the taxes in kilos on garments and textiles, we shall reduce a number of challenges, and this is the way to go. Okay. So I promise business people, we shall come back to you. My major challenge now as the new acting chairman of Kasita is bringing back the people together. Not one section of clothing, then another one of glass clothing, then the others are, no, that one cannot be the way to go under my brief regime as the chairman of Kasita. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Issa Sechito. Wishing you all the very best of luck in the engagements, because when you close, it's not just the customers suffering, but even you, the traders, are suffering because you're losing revenue. Government is as well losing revenue. But we'll continue to follow up on this story. 30 days, the Prime Minister will be informing Cabinet, and we'll be getting to see what comes in thereafter. But that is all we had time for. Thank you very much for your time. And to you, our viewer, thank you so much for staying with us. I am Mildred Tohai. Say good morning and God bless you.
Non-stop with the all-new Afro Mobile data bundles, built for non-stop vibes to keep you locked into your favorite shows with no limits for just 1K a day, 4K a week, or 10K a month. And yes, that price covers both your data and your Afro Mobile subscription. You heard that right. No codes, no hassle. Just download, open your Afro Mobile app, subscribe, and you're good to go. Wherever you are, whatever you love, keep the vibe going all day, all night with Afro Mobile. Streaming non-stop. Powered by MTN.
In the production process of Aquafina, we expertly filter every drop, providing clear and perfect tasting water to help you keep hydrated with the added benefit of minerals. Aquafina is bottled by Pepsi Cola International in Uganda and is available at only 1,000 shillings.
They think it's about what you wear, the car, the address. They think it's about what they can see. But you know, it's what they don't see that matters most. The early mornings, the silent no's, the risks only you could measure. They say power is loud, but yours, it hums. A low frequency, measured in instinct, in knowing. Because what you're building isn't just a life, it's a legacy. You didn't start with everything, but you built something that means everything. And now, with DFCU Bank, you access freely, grow confidently, live exceptionally. This is banking personalized for those who've carved their own way.
Alpha Music Entertainment presents Tipo live in concert on the 22nd of August 2025 at Lugogo Cricket Oval. Gates open at noon. Get ready for an unforgettable night of electrifying performances, incredible vibes, and non-stop entertainment, and a lineup of amazing guest artists. Entrance is only 20k ordinary, VIP is 50k, a golden table goes for 1 million, and a platinum table goes for 2 million million Ghana shillings. This is all brought to you by NBS TV, 𝐬𝐤𝐫𝐢𝐻N𝐞 TV, Afro Mobile, and NBS Music.
She walks miles every morning, not for money, but for mothers who can't make it to the clinic. He taught men in his village how to improve their health when no one else would. They are not on billboards, but they are saving lives every day. Nominate your hero for the Heroes in Health Awards 2025. Let Uganda say thank you. Nominations open July 29th to September 30th. Send a video nomination via WhatsApp +256 762 199 227. Visit www.hihaawards.com. HIHA 2025, strengthening health systems, empowering communities through self-care and sustainable solutions.
Live in concert. In the Champions Ball happening at Kampala Serena Hotel for 150k VIP, table for 8 at 3 million. For the ticket in the Momo Bet, stable Kagatelo Stabili 0 hash, Momo Apple, Momo ticket in the Kam. Come, let's enjoy the giant of creative rap flow right from way back. It's happening and going down 30th August. Mark your calendar. Sponsored by Phenon, NBS Music, Afro Mobile, 𝐬𝐤𝐫𝐢𝐻N𝐞 TV, Kampala Serena Hotel. September tulikasana munyeno mchisawe mu Greater Masaka Festival nga tujaguza sanyuka ati 10 ala sigenda kutokota alien skin hata mudene sandra nax na yimbye na yakapati Chief Medi for Senefango Forest yo nagires Hassan Nduga, Senga Nantume, Chibijigiri, Emron and Morrison, Angel Sekandi, Hamili Sengendo, Shillings of Mtualo VIP Mtualo Guneshunu, Hemeze Mtuala Tano, Ebilango Jigrao Sawa Biles Okumacha, Tusoka on Empakaza Tukutuku, Nazibabu Kakata, Tunane Bouncing Castles, Nebio Sabi Habana, Wakuva Kumacha, Bakangera. But present the 𝐬𝐤𝐫𝐢𝐻N𝐞 TV Bona, Webari, Sound to SPL, SPL, Ungabatunkane Kabura Soke, Banamasaka Kapande, Musomye Katufu, Tulese, Ndongo ya 𝐬𝐤𝐫𝐢𝐻N𝐞 at 10, Hawekasana Nyendo Mchisawe, Kusande Msambo September, Moja to binuke, tusanuke, tudikite, Kujagara Bambade Kapating, Tojanga Torimu Kapating, Manamu Vupating, Bitakekedwa W2 Limited, Neruagirama Medical, Kasana Junior School, Sam Snacks, Nomida, MTN.
Together, we're unstoppable.
Are you planning an event? Think of X Events for the best photography and videography of all kinds. We believe that every moment is worth capturing. Whether Kwanjula, weddings, Kuhinjira, bringing out the culture and glamour. And of course, a professional team that has mastered the art of the game and Progear with elegance. X Events is located along Rubaga Road on Access Building opposite Hotel Sojavalo. X Events, capturing your precious moments.
Uganda, echapukuru cha mulindi de banga, chikomya onate. Katabi Texas mude, Saturday nga mukaga gwa mwenda, Kololo Airstrip, Mutisawe, echapukuru from Max 2025. live nga tujaguza music industry abayimbi bonna okuva gye kyatandikira paka olwaleero muyimbi kigwowulira nga teyandibuze mu kyepukulu kino ogateko ba comedians okuva ku makya paka kiro tugenda kulya tunywe tunyumirwe kyokka ng'okuyingira tusasula 5,000 abitekisaga budda bugabuzi atuwadde buwi 5,000 zokka abayimbi abaliko bonna ogateka ebyokuzanyisa by'abaana stage amataala ne screen gagadde kati n'omuwogo mu musibe mu mwanike nga tannakaawa anti ekyepukulu promax 225 kisonze kulw'omukaaga nga mukaaga ogw'omwenda mu kisaawe kololo nga kiwagiddwa Sanyuka TV NBS Music Afro Mobile ne Superled Black Hair Shampoo ajjamu envi mu nviiri.
Wondering who holds government ministers to account? Parliament ensures transparency, accountability, and service delivery for a better quality of life for Ugandans. MPs should hold government ministers accountable on the floor of the House, at committees, and summon government officials to appear before Parliament on different matters. Your Member of Parliament is your representative. Make your voice heard. This message is brought to you by the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda.
A very good morning to you once again. Welcome to this breakfast meeting. It is very, very timely for us to be discussing the topic that we are having this morning, which talks about the current state of affairs and the season that we're in, political season, as we get to elect our members of parliament and at different levels. But today our focus will mainly be on the legislative house, or the legislature itself, as one of the arms of government. What does your MP do, or what can your MP do, and what can they not do? Many a times during such a period, there are promises that are set out, and yet some of these promises are right outside the context of what a member of parliament is expected to do. Legislation, representation, budgeting, and also the oversight that is expected. What is the role of parliament? What is the perception of the audience about the role of parliament as we go into such a time, and what do we need to know? Very timely conversation, and I am glad to have Manzil Ibrahim, a Senior Information Officer at the Parliament of Uganda, to take us through such a conversation. As earlier telling him, he probably has, or the parliament is going to be as empty as we can ever get, because everyone right now is trying to save their position, because we've continuously had the attrition rate in Parliament go higher and higher for each and every term that does come through. Manzil, it's a pleasure having you on the Morning Breeze. And what does the season look like for the kind of office that you work in?
Well, this is the time of the year when our bosses, the members of Parliament, are seeking to renew their contract with the voters. Yeah. And therefore, you would expect, naturally, that they are out there canvassing for votes, asking for the support of their constituents. And it's understandable that, the House is now on recess, so they have to be out there really doing their best to get re-elected. And
as we talk about re-election, for me, the bigger conversation is on whether the very people who should re-elect these members of parliament understand what parliament is, what the roles are of the members of parliament, expectation versus reality in the politics. What do you see in your view?
Well, the Constitution is 30 years old this year.
Yes.
And this is the 7th electoral cycle where we test that Constitution. And the Constitution prescribed roles for members of parliament. But you see, in practice, most of our voters, most of our people, do not have a very good appreciation of the roles of members of parliament. And also in the skullduggery of politics, how people go to lengths to get elected, they distort those roles. And because of that, they raise expectations beyond what is actually possible. So when they get to parliament, the voters have an expectation. Obviously, they said they would construct roads, they would do bridges, they would do schools and all that. But then the mechanism for doing that is quite different from because they project themselves as the person who's actually going to individually do those things. Now, in the end, expectations are not met, and you find that we have a very high attrition rate, which is also not good for a legislative culture. Because Parliament, unlike any other job, legislation is not a job for which you can say, I have been trained, I have this role, I have this experience.
You learn on job.
You learn on job.
Yeah.
So the more seasoned members of Parliament you can have in a Parliament, the better for you, because you have institutional memory, you have people who really understand legislation, who can keep nurturing newcomers. But when the newcomers actually are much higher than people who are actually remaining, it creates some bit of worry. And this is because of the severe misunderstanding of the roles of members of Parliament.
Okay. Who is to blame for that distortion? You talked about that distortion. Because while you talk about the 30-year edge of our constitution, I'm also looking about the 10-year edge of return of multi-party dispensation. So there is voters at play, the political parties at play, but the members of Parliament themselves. Who has caused this distortion of understanding of the roles of Parliament and MPs?
I think really we are dealing with a situation where we have people who desperately want to come to office as members of Parliament, and people who also desperately want to keep their seats as members of Parliament. So in that contestation, anything actually goes. So someone can say anything as long as it can get them an advantage over their opponents. And in so doing, those distortions happen, which is why we place the voter at the center of this, because the voter is the arbiter of the political contestation.
Yeah.
Believe that if the voter understands the role for which he is contracting a member of Parliament, whatever you come and tell him or her, the distorted roles, the exaggerations, they'll put you to task and say, but according to the Constitution, this is what we expect you to do. We want to test your competence against these roles, because these roles actually do require a lot of competence.
Yeah.
Legislation is a quasi-technocratic duty. You need to know your stuff to legislate. If they're legislating about, for instance, the banking sector, you really have to have knowledge, or you have to have the ability to, inquire into the subject and, raise your understanding of it so that you can legislate from a very informed position.
Yes.
If it's appropriation, you really need to understand the laws governing, the making of the budget process from the Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act, and all other laws, so that you can appreciate exactly what you need to do and what your role is as a member. And if it is oversight, you must have the ability to follow the trail of, and oversight here means you're going to follow the budget, the finances you've appropriated, but also you're going to ensure that holders of public office maintain the highest level of ethical standards, and also they do the job they're required to do properly. So that also requires a lot of knowledge and a lot of competence. And then the other role, legislation, appropriation, oversight, and representation. For you to represent a people or an idea, you must be able to articulate the concerns the issues of that constituency in the best way possible, so that nothing is lost in translation, as they say. Should have the ability to, eloquently discharge that function, speak to the issues affecting the people, raise them in the best way possible to rally your colleagues, because remember, the House is it's a collective.
Yeah.
It's a collective effort. So you have to have the ability, the tongue, the smooth tongue, to rally your colleagues to the cause of your people, so that when the budgeting process comes, they empathize with you, and therefore they can include the concerns of your people in the budgeting process, so that it can actually happen. So we really have to have an introspection as a country, and also as voters, when candidates promise lofty things, you need to question them on the basis of the Constitution. You said you're going to construct for us school ABC. Are you going to do it yourself? Where are you going to get the money from? Because remember, unlike maybe Kenya, which the other about I think a month or so ago constitutionalized the Constituency Development Fund, which sort of gives members of Parliament some bit of leverage to maybe do the other things that voters want, the construction of this and that. Yes, personally. In Uganda, we do not have that. We purely follow the parliamentary system, where someone comes, the national revenue is appropriated in Parliament.
They lobby for?
Yes, then you lobby and say, my constituency, we have this challenge, please the minister responsible? Is there a way you can actually consider this during the budget process? When the ministerial policy statements come, you can now insist and say, this health center, this bridge, this road requires urgent attention. And if you are able to rally your colleagues to see your point, to appreciate the plight of your people, then you expect that in the budgeting process, it's going to be there.
An appropriation can be made.
Yes, and then you are now, as a supervisor of government, able to go on ground and say, in this quarter, we're supposed to release maybe 30% of the funds to start this project. What happened? That is how it works. There's no other way. If we still have this constitution, the promises can be made. People can go out of their way to exaggerate, what they are capable of doing, when in fact, the truth is that time over and again, we've seen people who promise these things, and by the time of the end of the 5 years, they've created instead a very toxic relationship with the voters, and there's a lot of hostility because of unmet expectations, and also because you're actually promised what, in fact, you have no basis to implement.
Okay, picking up from there and going back to the 4 core, reasons as to why a member of parliament does exist. Let's look at the aspect of representation. And in there comes the idea of constituency service.
Yes.
What have you done as a member of parliament? Because I know that there are some reports that have come through on performance of members of parliament. Some members are ranked highly, others are not ranked highly. And the conversation is on, is it about how many times I speak on the floor or my contribution to the committees, or is it about the impact that my voters feel on the ground? Do you think that sort of constituency service seems to have overshadowed the role of a member of parliament, especially now going into who the voter brings into parliament to do the other key critical issues of oversight, but also on legislation, which, like you said, requires some levels of competence?
Yes. First of all, I've seen, I think every year or towards every electoral period, we've seen assessments of members of parliament.
Yeah.
And if you read most of those stories, it's majorly on the basis of how many times someone has contributed on the floor. They just robotically count. Even if you said point of order, that actually counts, taken. Yes, that as a contribution, which I think is a distortion also, because, for instance, now appropriation is a collective responsibility. It's a collective task. If I have, if I have voted for the, yes, for voting of funds to construct a certain health center somewhere, I've actually appropriated.
Yes.
I may not have spoken. I may not have spoken during the debate, but I've actually, I've contributed. So where do you place that member? Yeah, and then people in the constituencies need to really, and that's where really the question of our local governments come in, because the member of parliament, the moment we distort their functions, and then we say them constituency, the way they usually
we don't feel
we don't see the member, when in fact you voted the member to go to parliament. Parliament is actually here in Kampala. If he's supposed to actually be with you every evening in the village, then actually he's doing you a disservice, because he's not working. He's supposed to be in committees, he's supposed to be following government, supervising government, he's supposed to be legislating, requires reading loads of documents, sitting in the committees for long hours, to appreciate the matter issues at stake. Now, if you want to localize this member and say there is a funeral and we've not seen him, there is a wedding and he has not attended, someone got sick and he didn't contribute, and that forms the basis of either voting in someone or voting out someone, we're not helping ourselves. And I think it's unsustainable, as you've seen, really. You've covered parliament, you've seen how every after electoral cycle we have these issues. However, if we have a member of parliament and we task them and say, well, these are your roles, these are our issues in the constituency service you talked about, we want you to help us here in this constituency. How are you going to help us? Is this a roads-related issue? Is it a health-related issue? Is it an education-related issue? If it's an education-related issue touching on either the construction of schools or maintaining the existing ones, we want to hear your voice as a member during the budget making process where it matters, where funds are actually in fact, unless it's an emergency. But government plans, in a financial year, on the basis of a financial year.
Yeah.
And that budget is a document that is usually stuck to unless something happens. And if it's a supplementary, the law actually stipulates on what basis you can actually have a supplementary. So that means you task your member of parliament or the candidate you prefer to want to represent you, that we have this issue of this school, we have the issue of this bridge, we have the issue of this health center. By the end of these 5 years, we need to see impact, and therefore the member has the duty to escalate. That's now where representation comes in. He represents the issues. If the bridge is doing badly, we need the member of parliament must animate the issue, must raise it in a way that draws the concern of his colleagues in the house to empathize with that constituency, and during the time of allocation of resources, support you in terms of seeing to it that the budget responds to those concerns. And you see, also, we have so many constituencies, so not all issues can be addressed in one go, or let's say in 5-year term, in 5 years. That's why a member of parliament, the office, while you are, from a constituency, it's actually a national office also.
True.
So he needs to aggregate the concerns of the constituency
to the national level.
Yes. Because you can't demand for a road because you do not want dust leading to your house in the village, when in fact maybe another constituency where we have discovered minerals actually need roads so that we can extract those minerals to grow the economy and create jobs. So these priorities are supposed to be looked at in that broad form and in that broad sense.
Okay.
So,
Mazil, as you're making these explanations, one word came to my mind: democracy. Because if I remember my primary definition of it, government of the people, for the people, by the people. Now, those very people who get this government into power will have demands, will have concerns. But with all these distortions going around that we've been talking about, what's their consequence on the quality of democracy and governance in the country?
Well, obviously, we make all these efforts, but the ultimate decision maker is the voter.
True.
Our role is just to ensure that we, as a country, raise our civic competence to a level where the decision-making of the voter is an informed decision-making process. And it has basis in the Constitution and also in the laws, and on the basis of what exactly a member of parliament can deliver. So, yes, we have the freedom of choice. Voters can ultimately decide that, well, you've said all these things, you've spoken all the English, but going with so-and-so. For whatever reason. Our duty and our role, and the reason why we are here today, is to ensure that the voter appreciates the Constitution they gave us, prescribed certain roles for those members of parliament. And that should ideally be the basis upon which someone is assessed for suitability for office. So we just hope that our bosses, the voters, going forward, can see that when they are contracting members to come to the house, they revise the Constitution they gave us and say, okay, whereas I have the choice to, a democratic choice to make this decision, I have to make this decision on this basis, A, B, C, D. What does the Constitution say? What does the law say? To limit the disappointments, but also to carry the country forward.
You talked about raising the civic competences, and here civic education is very important. Was kind of a subject earlier on in education, but now it seems to be left to a few organs. How does and can Parliament continue to foster this very, very important aspect? Because that is where then we'll be able to get voters who say, I think, yes, Mazil has said all the nice English, but I think maybe agree deserves to have this because of these
attending funerals here. Yes, this is a conversation I think really as a country we need to have urgently so. And maybe given that we are now in the information age, Parliament is making a lot of efforts. Our department, the Department of Communication and Public Affairs, is always out there in the field, bringing in schools, talking to children about the roles of parliament, to create a critical mass, a new critical mass of people who appreciate the roles of MPs. But also, I think we need to step up the efforts to raise the civic awareness of our people. People who have had the opportunity to get the exposure to study should take it upon themselves individually, to ensure that when they go back to their villages during the election time or any other time, they have a conversation with their voters on these things.
Okay. Let's look at the arm of legislation for Parliament, because, well, it's also referred to as the legislative organ. When it comes to making of laws, which is expected of Parliament, looking at all the separation of the principle of separation of powers, many people still believe that there is not really separation, especially when it comes between the executive and the legislature or the Parliament itself. What would be your take on that feeling coming in from the Ugandans who believe it is supposed to be for Parliament, but that's not what it looks like?
By the way, first of all, people need to know that legislation is a shared function, almost across all the levels of government. If it's the executive, Parliament, even the judiciary, by the way. So it's not entirely a preserve of Parliament, because the President is the one who assents to the laws we pass.
Yes.
So sometimes people imagine that for Parliament to exercise its legislative role, it must adopt a hostile posture against the executive.
Be an island of a sort.
Yes, I think that is quite counterproductive. The issue is the rules give precedence to government business, and therefore we expect that in legislation, and as with any other function of Parliament, there must be cohesion, working together, a working relationship among all the arms of government. Because one, most of the laws are introduced by the executive, even when private members can as well introduce legislation on limited subjects. Now, if a government introduces a bill, Parliament interrogates it and passes it. If the President is satisfied with the legislation, he assents to it. If he has issues, he brings it back to Parliament,
Yeah.
And, to try and create, because all these avenues are created by the Constitution, so that we can have a consensus in governance. That you just don't have your way because, you are either the Parliament, and therefore you say, I can act alone. You can be a loner. You can't be a loner. You have to work, in tandem and in consortium with all those other arms of government to deliver a law which in fact will be implemented. Because you see, the implementation rests with the executive arm of government. If you alienate each other and create an unhealthy relationship and unnecessary conflict, you will find that you might actually legislate because when the President returns it, I think the third time it can actually be tabled and it can be gazetted and become law. Still, who is going to implement it? So we require that relationship to be at its best, so that we create an atmosphere of understanding. Everyone understands each other. Everyone articulates their concerns. Parliament brings its issues. The President brings its issues, and if a citizen is not satisfied with the process, they can still go to court. We've seen legislations that have actually been struck out by court. That is how democracy is supposed to work. That's the constitutional order we gave ourselves in 1995. So
there is no island when it comes to the democratic process?
Yeah, at least the constitution didn't envisage one.
Okay, so let's look at now how the citizen comes into law, the processing of laws and formation of laws in this, because yes, we're in representative democracy, but I do not want to believe that the member of Parliament can entirely be able to represent all the views and ideas of the citizens. How can and how does the citizen come into the process of legislation?
Yes, that's a very important question, Mildred. The Constitution and the political dispensation we gave ourselves does not give anyone absolute powers and absolute discretion.
Yeah.
So even a member of Parliament, while elected, the fact that they have a representative role, a representation role means you represent what the views of the people, which means you need to keep that connection alive. And therefore, the voter ultimately reserves the right to, ensure that their opinion, not the opinion of the member of parliament necessarily, carries the day in the house. Now, to do that in legislation means, one, as parliament, we've created, space for that through the committees of parliament, through, ensuring that members of parliament consult as widely as possible. And I think the only thing we need, because I've seen our colleagues in Kenya, I'll make reference to Kenya because I think we are close in many ways, even politically similar to some extent. They created a legislation which governs consultation. So maybe I think going forward our bosses the members of parliament can look into that direction so that we formalize and institutionalize the aspect of consultation in legislation. So that if you are legislating, a member of your constituent can send you an email, can call you, can, chat you up on social media like we have. You can also actually, many times actually, you can go out to the field and speak to the voters on all issues. Unfortunately for us in Uganda, I think the voters only pick interest on the so-called contentious legislation.
Yes.
But for instance, when they are making, the budget, when they are introducing taxes, you find that, there's quite some bit of apathy there. So I think as voters also, we need to demand that our members of parliament consult us, because if we set the standard, if we raise the bar that, on issues, if there is a legislation on the floor of parliament, you, our representative, must come to us and listen to us, so that, you go and debate on our behalf as it should be. So I think also it's two-way. The members of parliament and the institution of parliament should, increase the opportunities for people to make contributions. Of course, they're already there. You can appear before a committee, you can send in a written submission, but I think more can be done in that regard. But also, we the voters must also create an atmosphere where whenever anything is on the floor of parliament, which requires decision making by our representatives, they make those decisions on the basis of what actually we want.
I'm still talking about consultation. Do you think the current members of parliament have done enough when it comes to making known the importance of, for example, various bills? Like you said, sometimes it's only the contentious ones that normally come out, but I want to believe that each and every bill that is passed in parliament or debated affects each and every Ugandan. And many a times I've come up to see people saying, we weren't consulted. Have the members of parliament done enough in that aspect? Because it's part of representation.
I think they have, but also you see, you our colleagues in the media, and do what we call agenda setting. Yeah. And when you create an atmosphere in the country that this is the important issue, everyone will hasten towards that. Even when a member of parliament or individual members can make an effort to ensure that a particular legislation generates a lot of interest, in the public. When you set the agenda that this time we have to follow a musician X, or there's something trending, or there's a certain dance trending on TikTok or wherever it is, then most of that will be lost. So I think as a country, all of us really, who are in the space of shaping opinions, should take it upon ourselves to prioritize all legislation in parliament. Okay. And because of that, parliament actually goes live on all platforms. TikTok, YouTube, even X, so that we bring parliament as closest to the voter as possible, so that they follow for themselves. They don't just wait for NBS to report to them what happened in the house, but they have the ability to follow issues as they happen, so that they know that, well, the media may not have prioritized this particular legislation, but we feel that it's important, and therefore we demand that a member of parliament acts like this on this particular legislation.
Let's get to see the citizen deep down in the village, because there is always the divide, whether it's a digital divide or it's based on region or for whatever reason. In the city center, it may be easier because there are TVs, there are radios, people have phones, so in internet they can be able to follow up. But how about my grandmother deep down in the village in Masindi, who is probably not following television or does not have access to many of these gadgets? How do they get to engage?
Well, that really is also a valid concern. But that's where now the civic competence comes in. We need to go out of our way to ensure that we bring every citizen on board. Using the media, using everything available to us. And that explains why I'm here this morning, because I believe that if, for instance, in a certain trading center in the village, someone actually watches this show and appreciates the roles of members of parliament, when they go back to our grannies, our grandmothers in the village back home, they can tell them that, by the way, there was this discussion today on the roles of members of parliament. And I think what we have been doing before, the basis upon which we've been electing these people, has actually been different from what in fact should inform our decision making, our political decision making.
Okay.
Yes.
And any consequences in case you do not involve us as parliament and laws are passed and we're actually agitated by them?
Yeah, if you feel, first of all, parliament will always go out of its way to ensure that every legislation, every decision making is a consultative process where the citizens have an ample opportunity to express their views on any subject before the House. But also remember that, which is why really, again, it's critical to interrogate the character of people we entrust with this important mandate. Because consultation, someone, if you elect someone for a 5-year term and he's a member of parliament, you've given that person the power to make so many important decisions on your behalf. Because now, for instance, if I have 6 sub-counties in my constituency, and 3 of them say vote yes on a particular subject, and another 3 says vote no, how do I reconcile that? Do I abstain?
Yes.
But people want me to actually express, to make a decision on their behalf. So I think now it is important at this stage of the electoral process, when people are coming out to seek public office, to contest for parliament, we the voters must, touch into all those individuals and say, yes, I'm giving so and so my vote for 5 years to go and represent and make decisions on my behalf. Do I trust him
to do that?
To do that for me?
Okay.
It gets back to that.
I was just, while we were discussing, I was looking at the previous tag, resource limitations are hindering MPs and committees. It is the same kind of conversation that we get when it comes to ministries, departments and agencies on their inadequacy in delivering on their mandate. Now that brings me to the idea or the role of appropriation, where many Ugandans still believe that members of parliament are not giving the adequate scrutiny to this budget and simply rubber stamping, quote unquote, what would be coming in probably from the executive, which becomes probably, and other organs that are the originators of the budget. And this also actually speaks to what you talked about earlier on. Do they have the competences to be able to look thoroughly into these numbers?
Yes. The 11th Parliament is blessed, first of all, to have highly competent members, in various, knowledgeable in various subjects. I think I'll share the qualifications of these members, the current members. We have, I think, the most educated parliament we've ever had in our history.
Okay.
And so, yes, there are those concerns relating to budget, but people need to understand that, first of all, the budget is actually a tool of the executive. The president gets a 5-year mandate on the basis of a manifesto from the voters. And those promises, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So it's on that basis that he's given a mandate. Now, the budget is supposed to be his tool to ensure that, he implements that mandate, which is why a private member, for instance, cannot raise a legislation which has which can impose a charge on the consolidated fund, because to protect the executive's interests in ensuring that they have the resources to implement their manifesto. So it's a shared responsibility. It's not entirely a parliamentary responsibility. And therefore, what I think people need to appreciate is that the budget is political negotiation. It's the highest level of negotiation in the country, where you need to bring your finest, like I've said, who must articulate your issues to draw the attention of the colleagues and the government as well, so that it is slotted into the limited resources. Remember, our budget, yes, you know, we have our budget, the resources are always limited. So at the moment of budgeting, there is always priority. You could say Parliament has been consistent in prioritizing infrastructure, in prioritizing energy, you know, to ensure that we create a sound basis for the economy to grow and flourish, for greater opportunities for everyone. So I think, as you know, members of Parliament make, you know, the budget, the voters need to appreciate that, yes, they actually do understand the budgeting process. Members of Parliament are good, they know what they are doing, and but given the limited resources, not everyone can always have their way. So in the budget making process, we need to ensure that we send our best negotiators to come and make a claim for us, and you know, we get a share. We get a share of the pie, really.
And like you said, the share is what we normally look at as the budget vote for the particular, you know, areas where the money has to go. But apart from just that vote, how far-reaching should the role of the parliament, the parliamentarian, be in ensuring that the money is spent on what it is exactly meant to be spent on, that there is no corruption, and there is just basically value for money, because that's done on behalf of the voter that they're representing?
Yes. That's also a critical aspect, ensuring that government, the oversight function of members of Parliament. Once you legislate and you appropriate, you represent, legislate and appropriate, then there is the responsibility to oversee. I have appropriated 10 billion to construct a bridge in my village in 𝐬𝐵𝐈𝐶𝐞. You ask yourself, has that money actually, you know, served the purpose? As a member of Parliament, you are supposed to follow. Has the money been released? Yes. Has it served the purpose? If no, then you can actually make the inquiry. That's why the Constitution gives Parliament an officer called the Auditor General. The Auditor General is an officer of Parliament who assists members in fulfilling this oversight role, because they have the technical expertise to follow and go down and say, well, money was released, did it actually do what it was supposed to do?
Like what we're having with the accountability committees currently. Yes,
we have the accountability committees, and the framers of the Constitution ensured that those accountability committees are chaired by the opposition, because the ruling party, you know, forms the government, which does the implementation. So it cannot, in all fairness, supervise itself. Yes. Yeah. So that's why you know, the function of oversight is so much. It's of course a parliamentary function, but specifically the committees on accountability are given to the opposition to ensure that that process is actually seamless. And now this Parliament, the 11th Parliament, has been so strong on value for money audit, because, as you know, our technocrats have become wiser. Someone can give you an accountability on paper, which looks so smooth and so smart.
Yeah,
and then,
to the point.
Yeah, when you reach in the field, you find that there's a mismatch. So we now do a value for money audit to ensure that, you know, what is on paper is actually reflected on the ground. Let's
look at these parliamentary committees with regard to oversight. How seriously taken, that's how I should describe it, are they? Because we've always had the whole idea of, oh, parliamentary committees at the level of a high court, they can even be able to issue summons at the end of the day. But yet, in some instances, we've seen recommendations made by committees that are never paid attention to, whether by the executive or by whoever it is recommended to. Or we've even seen some people blatantly come through and say those recommendations are simply advisory. There is nothing much.
No, the recommendations are not advisory. If the accountability process ends with the issuance of what we call the Treasury Memorandum, which where government actually comes clean and explains to Parliament what exactly was done about this query. Yeah? So the accountability process is not in vain, by the way. So when the committee interrogates, the general reports to Parliament, then the committees interrogate, then it comes to the floor of the House, it's debated, and decisions are made by the House. Those decisions are supposed to be implemented. And to follow the implementation, that's why every financial year, by it's there, the Treasury Memorandum actually comes. So people can look out and see that the query raised was in fact implemented, and everything was done to its very logical conclusion. It's not it's not a show. It's not putting up a show. It's actually serious work, and I think members of Parliament do it. And at the end of the process, the Treasury Memorandum, the government actually follows what the voters have, what the members of Parliament have said.
Yes. But also away from just the paperwork, because many believe as you go through the audits, as you go through, all these committee papers, you're doing post-mortem. You're basically doing an autopsy to find out the cause of death, but probably the death has already occurred. How more does Parliament and the committees engage in real-world performance, tracking down performance of what is being done, as opposed to waiting for the post-mortem to be done?
Yeah, thankfully, audit today, and even the Auditor General no longer actually does only post-mortem. They actually follow projects. They follow projects as they happen, especially big projects where the taxpayers committed a lot of money. In the wisdom of Parliament, for whom the Auditor General works, they widen the scope, not just to wait and say, okay, money has been given, let's wait for the outcome. They actually follow the process.
Ongoing.
Yes, they follow the process, or they audit the process as it actually happens. So that in the end, you don't just wait for someone to come and give you accountability, but you also know whether the processes have been scrupulously followed to ensure that taxpayers' money has been put to good use.
Okay. I am still looking at the view and where we started from actually, currently, because when I'm saying my member of Parliament, I say my representative in Parliament. That's my member of Parliament. And my view as a voter of a member of Parliament is one who will attend the burials, come and commiserate with us. They will pay some school fees. If I have a sick person, I'll be able to. But apart from even the gifts, when there is a fundraiser, come and fundraise with me. What is the actual idea of representation, which is also a core role of the members of Parliament?
Yes, representation is a core mandate of members of Parliament. It basically means relaying concerns from the constituency to the national stage. And not necessarily a member of Parliament's own constituency, but like I said, the office of a member of Parliament is a national office. So the concerns can be, from anywhere in the country, which is why you have the matters of national importance. Everyone in Parliament sits.
Yes.
So that, members of Parliament can fulfill that representation role. They can say, Honorable Speaker, we have this issue, we have the other issue, as representatives of the people. And also, representation means every decision making in Parliament, whether it's about legislation, it's about budgeting, you make it on the base, having in mind the best interests of your constituents. A member of Parliament should ideally ask himself, what would my constituents, if they were on this table, what would they decide? And that is, the ultimate idea behind representation. You are a conveyor belt as a member of Parliament. And to me, I believe that for you to become the conveyor belt, I need to feed. I feed you probably when you slip over at the vigil or, come through. I'm looking at it in the context of that voter, especially in the village, and I'm looking at that as mindset change. How much more are you as Parliament working to ensure that this mindset actually tweaks to what exactly it's supposed to be, not what it is misconstrued to be now? Well, I think as a people, our social construct in Uganda is that someone who comes and attends funerals, someone who
digs graves with us.
Digs graves. Some people I've seen cooking, mingling posho with constituents.
That's when we consider it to be down to earth.
That's the idea. Oh, this is the best.
This is our man.
However, it's our duty to really change that narrative.
Okay.
Yeah? It's our duty to change that narrative, and there couldn't be a better time to really change that narrative. Let our voters out there understand that the best, the person who frequents the funeral, however well-intentioned, or maybe attends the weddings, may not necessarily be the ideal candidate for parliament, because it's a specialized role he is asking for. It's like a job always lists its description, the job descriptions.
Yeah. What
exactly is expected of you. By creating your own job descriptions foreign to this, which the law knows, will not make you actually any good worker, because you could be hired on the basis of that which you told voters you would do, as against the job descriptions here. So you get to parliament, and then the voters are saying, but a member of parliament, we no longer see the man, it's financially intensive, and that brings us to really the question of money in our politics.
Yeah.
It's financially intensive for any member of parliament to sustain that kind of politics. For you to attend all funerals in the constituency for 5 years, imagine the investment you make. So what happens is, immediately the election is over, a member of parliament would probably switch off his phone. And then voters say, we no longer see him. The person who used to mingle the portion here with us is no longer available. Why? Because
they reached.
Yes, they went out of their way. They did so many things, so they want to sleep and recover.
Yeah.
And therefore, that really distorts and kills the ideal, the role for which a member of parliament should be serving.
Okay.
If you give someone a blank check, if you vote a member of parliament purely on the basis of his roles, integrity, and the faith you have in him, you've given him a debt. So he will go and represent you, knowing that these people voted me purely on the basis of these functions that
I didn't have to buy.
I didn't have to buy the votes. I didn't have to attend so many funerals. I didn't have to attend so many weddings. I didn't have to contribute to social causes as a basis. They may do it generously
out of humanity.
Yes, but that shouldn't become the basis on which we actually elect anyone to office.
When we talk about parliament, it's one of the most prestigious, currently as is, one of the most prestigious areas to work in, because of perks, because of what happens. But there's also critics. I know that one will be able to say, let's juxtapose with our regional counterparts, and it's totally different. But I want to bring it to the critics who look at parliament as a transaction house. And You've heard this, even the president has actually talked about it. And so many people have been kept out of politics. So what would be the incentive for the would-be performers, the persons who should have come through to engage in politics, to come to parliament when there is all this criticism? Well, they just buy them out. It's a transaction house. There is a lot of corruption there.
Well, I think there are so many, you see, every 5 years, we have all those critics of parliament coming out, and some of them really take it to be a vocation. And
it's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, by the way. It's the constitutional right of anyone to question and touch their institution, their parliament. And most of those criticisms are really not, are misplaced and unfounded. But members of parliament are given a job to do, and they must have a remuneration. They must be paid for that job. A member of parliament must be remunerated. You don't want a member of parliament who's going to run out of fuel on the road. You will say, now, you see, this person actually, how can this be a member of parliament? So I think the people who really want to go out to, the critics of parliament, the perennial critics of parliament, this is really the time to form the 12th parliament you want. This is the time. If you think your member of parliament is not doing what you think he's supposed to be doing, go out there and actually become the member of parliament. This is the time. And just take the step, so that, if you feel there is a need to qualitatively change the face of parliament, it starts with you going out there and, campaigning. And people have always accused members of parliament that, they made this decision because of this, because of the other, but we never see evidence of that.
Yeah.
It remains at the level of an accusation. Because members of parliament, for the right reasons, have a heightened level of scrutiny. They are the only, it's the only arm of government which actually works in full view of the public. If the House is sitting, you are seeing the Member of Parliament at work. In the committees, you see them. The Speaker sitting in that chair, you see. They do their work in full view of the public. So it invites, naturally, a lot of scrutiny as well. But the question should be, when we are making accusations on the character of, our Members of Parliament and, in a way that damages and, degrades the institution of Parliament, should be careful to understand that, yes, it might be political expedient to call Members of Parliament names and accuse them of things, most of which they have actually not done. But overall, it's the institution that we actually weaken. Which institution we as a country desperately needs.
Yeah. We
need a Parliament, to sit at the center of our democracy so that we have a functional state. And therefore, for you to, if you have any issue against a Member of Parliament, there are processes, for you to bring it up with evidence, But if it's just hearsay, this Member of Parliament has done this, Members of Parliament are making the decision on the basis of this, because someone has, done this or the other, it's neither here nor there. It's unfair, actually, to members of Parliament, and which is why it is important that the people who perennially accuse members of these things should actually join the fray and come and, create the ideal Parliament they want. Yes.
Okay.
This is the time.
But also, abstractly speaking about our democracy and the way we get to elect our leaders comes in the conversation of monetization of politics. And probably, as you say, they should come in. Some of them will say, I don't have the money to be able to get in there. But when we look at the monetization of politics, and especially where we're going even right about now, because many political parties have also talked about it, what's the adverse effect and implication of such on the democracy and the quality of leaders later on, whether parliamentary, presidential, whatever it is, that we can be able to get for the country?
I get the point. I think really as a country we have a problem there, and we must start somewhere. And to kill the idea of monetization is one of the ways is to come here and say because where would the money come in? The money would come in someone constructing a road. People buy tractors these days and they move in the constituencies. Yeah. So as you promised to raise the issues in Parliament so that the road can be considered, someone is actually doing it.
Yes.
And so the voters will say, well, this person is talking, but this person is actually doing it.
The one who is talking and the one who is doing, who do we take? Yeah.
I think as members of the members of Parliament must should look into our electoral laws to really stop those things, because it does not help anyone. It's not sustainable. No one can substitute for the state of Uganda.
Yes.
It's not practical. It drives, like you've said, so many people out of politics. So we need to have a law, to broaden the definition of, early campaigning. People, it should be defined that even when it is 4 years to the elections and someone is, creating, seen foundation, so and so Mildred Foundation, and
and I have my money I have saved.
Yes, and then you start, hide disguising under humanitarian grounds, but you are trying to, dislodge and make a member of Parliament uncomfortable. I mean, if we raise the bar, all of us, and we say, well, whatever you want to do for us, we want you to ensure that you do it through the state, so that our state functions better. Because it is in our best interest to have an efficient state, and we do not help make the state efficient by attempting to substitute for it in our constituencies. So as citizens, we need to stand firm and draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, this truck, on what basis are you actually constructing this road? Are you an engineer? On what basis? Do you have knowledge? Because in most cases, you find the people who run tractors actually end up making the roads worse. But we need to have a mechanism where, if the road is bad, a member of Parliament raises the concern, and the concern is actually addressed. That is the system we need to strengthen. If we strengthen the system, it would not matter whether Mildred comes to the campaigns without having to bankrupt himself or herself for the election. You just come and say, I think I can do this role better. I think I can ensure that this school, through the government, through the state, through the system, is funded. I think I can articulate these concerns better, and on that basis, the person is voted, and we see, and we make the system better over and over time, so that we can have a state which is strong. We can have a parliamentary system which responds to our needs, and we overall have better democracy for ourselves. That's the only way out. Someone out there is planning to dislodge, another is saying, "Watcha, we will continue causing headache for them." But anyway, that's just tongue in cheek. Now, our time is really fast spent, but Mazil, let's look at the actualities of what is on ground. Currently, we are in the last lap for the parliament. We will get to see so many people absent because they're trying to secure back their seats in there. But looking at all the years, the span of this 11th parliament, as we get the 12th parliament, what would you consider as the mark of success, the achievements of this current parliament, in your view? Well, I think we are going to have a bigger discussion on that. Yeah. But this the facts are there, the figures are there. I'll share, we will have another show for that, but this has been a tremendous parliament in terms of, getting the job done. Okay. We've passed more laws than, any other parliament in recent memory. We've processed so many, questions. We've processed so many petitions, more than any other parliament in recent memory. This has been an efficient parliament. You've seen the legislations we've passed. The statistics will be shared, and I'm sure at an opportune time we'll have another show in the coming days to specifically discuss the achievements of the 11th parliament. But I can tell you for sure that if you look just by the fourth year, because I compiled the statistics, unfortunately I don't have them offhand, but by getting into the fourth session, we had already surpassed the number of laws and business processed by the previous parliament. That's actually the fact. So in terms of the roles of the members of parliament, parliament has been excellent in getting the job done. Okay. Yes. Any challenges that have existed? Because of course, it's not void of, I wouldn't say problems, but I think I would want to call them challenges or missed opportunities that this parliament didn't pay attention to. Actually, for any institution, there are obviously challenges. I, for one, believe our efforts to, the other time we tried out the regional parliaments. I wish we had the means to, do it across the country, because by bringing parliament closer to the ordinary voter at that level, it creates a better understanding of the roles of the members of parliament. It creates an atmosphere where the voters have the opportunity to say, well, is this in fact what parliament is supposed to do? So if we can spread this outreach as far wide as possible, I think there's an opportunity for that. Some people thought that was very exorbitant, wasteful, so to say, going to the regions, because after all, we choose these people from the regions to come and represent. No, we see we've had these institutions as basically colonial constructs. We need to demystify these institutions. The judiciary, there's a time we had a sitting of the High Court, of the Court of Appeal in Mbale, the judiciary sits everywhere. Why shouldn't it be parliament? We need to really demystify these institutions so the people, and the reason, so the people can understand that well, this is what actually parliament is supposed to be doing, and on that basis they now make an informed decision on who should sit there. They see their voters debate, because not everyone will always come to Kampala to follow what members of parliament are doing, but even that wasn't a wild opportunity. It's good enough, really, to create to bring the institution as closest to the people as possible. I think that was actually a good effort, which As we close, what message would you have for the viewer out there who is also a voter? You and I are voters, and this is the time when we get to say, let them come. Yes, we've been waiting. I think our dear voters and listeners, the citizens, this is the time for us to make decisions on the people who are going to carry the responsibility of representing our views for 5 full years, it's important that we scrutinize them on the basis of what in fact they're supposed to do, and where we feel that we could play the role better ourselves. This is the time for you to say, well, I mean, I think my member of parliament could have done better in this area, and I feel I'm better off to do it. You go and do it yourself. But we cannot vote members of parliament on the basis of anything else other than their constitutional responsibilities, because in the end we will all get stuck. The person you voted because they attended so many weddings will come to parliament unaware of where to start from, what exactly their roles are, and therefore we owe it to ourselves and to our democracy to raise the level of our politics, to ensure that everyone who vote into office in parliament is voted on the basis of that ability to efficiently and effectively exercise those constitutional functions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just so I don't miss it as we go, Parliament has no we don't have a school of parliament that people will learn how to legislate and be members of parliament. Do you have any mechanisms that, and with the attrition rate we always have so many newcomers coming through, do you have mechanisms as a house or as a legislative body that look at how to train or at least equip with the basics when these members of parliament come in as new and raw as they are?
Yes, Parliament actually does train. Parliament does train. We have a department specifically dedicated to that, training of members of parliament, offering legislative training generally. So we actually do that, and Parliament has been doing that to people either in the local governments and other citizens as well, so that if they chance to come to Parliament, they are good enough. But also, just not to take chances, the moment the electoral process is concluded and members of parliament are inaugurated, Parliament undertakes an extensive training for members of parliament, the new members of parliament, to broaden their understanding, to polish them further for the roles that they are about to take. And also, learning is a continuous process. So, like I said, we also rely on the senior members of parliament who have been in parliament for long, to mentor the newcomers, and to sustain and create that legislative culture.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I wish we had more time, but I can't wait for the time that we'll be looking at the gains and the achievements and the misses for Parliament, that we will be waiting. But thank you very much, Ibrahim, for coming to be with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and to you, our viewer, thank you so much for sparing time to listen in. This is very, very important, because that member of Parliament who you're selling your vote to for a bar of soap or a kilogram of sugar is going to take 5 years of unrepresented ideas, because you had a transaction with them. So as we go into the election, can we listen to the ideas? Can we listen to the views, and not what is being done in a contractual manner or in a transactional manner, and have leaders that will be able to represent us? I've been speaking to Manzil Ibrahim, who is the Senior Information Officer at the Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. And thank you so much for joining us. That's all we had time for. I am Mildred Tohaise. Good morning, and God bless you.
Live and filtered and missable. Exclusively on Afro Mobile. Exciting news for news lovers. The Now Post, your reliable source of swift and accurate news, has introduced its all-new mobile-friendly experience. We have upgraded your mobile news experience, giving you a slick, user-friendly interface, making it easier than ever to stay informed. Embark on a new era of news exploration with Now Post, scrolling through with ease because it's seamless and lighter. Now Post, accurate news fast.
Does your daughter have the confidence, charm, and talent to shine on stage? Then this is her moment. The Little Miss Uganda auditions 2025 are here under the theme, Proud to be Ugandan. We are calling all girls aged 4 to 16 years to step into the spotlight and become the next Little Miss Uganda. Auditions are on 6th September 2025 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the National Theatre, Kampala. Registration is only 100,000 shillings and the dress code is pink. For more information, call +256 756 801 550 or visit www.littlemissuganda.org. Sponsored by NBS Plus, Afro Mobile, and UCC.
Nyumiro Muziki Super on NBS Music, where the music never ends. Teddy Kuzikiza. Get ready to experience the best in music with NBS Music, where the beats never stop. Enjoy 24/7 non-stop entertainment, playing your favorite hits, fresh tracks, and exclusive jams every day. Whether you're home, on the go, or just chilling, we got you covered. Immerse yourself in the ultimate music experience, only available on the Afro mobile platform. Feel the vibes. NBS Music. Teddy Kuzikiza.
Join us on the ICE Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards 2025 and 11th Anniversary Bonfire Dinner, recognizing and awarding Pan-Africans who selflessly fought and defended the rights and freedoms of the black race globally. On 30th August 2025 at Fair Hotel from 2 p.m. Dress code, strictly pub t-shirts or traditional stroke African wear. Theme, One Africa, One Passport. United States of Africa, USA. Book your dinner card now. Table for 8, 3 million. Platinum, 1 million. Gold, 500K. Silver, 400K. Bronze, 150K. Call 0757 342317 or 0782 342317 to book your dinner card online now. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. I am because we are. Come, let's rekindle our roots. Africa, don't agonize, organize. Powered by Fairway Hotel, NBS TV, Afro Mobile, Lupa Radio Foundation, JJK, The Spy Uganda, Detective UG.
2026 is calling and your voters are watching, listening, scrolling and streaming. Ready to lead? Then it's time to be seen, heard and remembered. Next Media is your campaign partner. From TV to radio, digital to mobile, even influencer power. We get your message everywhere. Whether you're running for MP or local council, it's your time, your voice, your victory. Book your space now with us on 0761 001 890.
Whatever sport you enjoy, Sport Action on NBS Sport has you covered. Whether you want to support the Uganda Cranes or our netball team, golf or athletics, both domestic sporting events in Uganda and international sporting events in which Ugandans compete are the subjects of our attention. What are you still holding out for? Catch all the excitement on Sport Action by tuning to NBS Sport, brought to you by MTN, the #1 supporter of Ugandan sports.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come.
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Get and stay connected to DSTV Compact and GoTV Super Plus with Kawiki available on DSTV and GoTV.
Better steady, be better.
Madam Manikogano kwate simu yange semakula ninga mwana wo ku kyalo gwe twakola naye
waganira ddala okutuweereza ssente tutereeza essimu yo kati layini yo tugenda gitemako.
Tomanyi munnange naye nanti mbadde nkuweereza ssente ku ssimu yo by mistake.
Munagala nga Onesima stokunyuka Josephat Omuntu wasomera na primary school Honorand Road.
Of course, many of them will come in that direction. I hear OBs, chokanga wakolane homeschooling. Boy, your landlord. Most of your landlords are still your parents. But now in this particular errand season, most of the scammers are doing their best to earn what you have. So better steady, be better. Boss in this steady.
In partnership with Uganda Communications Commission and NBS.
Through every trial, every triumph, grace has led us here. Ambassadors of Christ Choir, live in Kampala. This Far by Grace concert honoring Mwalimu Soze's 37 years in gospel music. Come and enjoy these timeless hits. And the songs at Serena Hotel Kampala on the 7th of September 2025 at exactly 2 p.m. Get your ticket now at 50k early bird or 100,000 regular. Tables go for 1 million Ugandan shillings for 5 people or platinum table at 3 million Ugandan shillings. Reserve your seat now.
Amanya gange nze mugerwa John Bulega mbeera wantoni mukono wano mu kifo ky'ennyini w'empangulidde pikipiki eno kakati bakama bange engeri gye mpanguddemu pikipiki eno bakama baffe ab'MTN bazze ne promotion eno yakola tune era mbadde ndi mu kulya kamere ne ŋŋamba kangezesa omukisa gwange ne mpita kiyambi wa MTN nannyambako nanteerako nusu 10 ku akawunti yange eya MTN ya layini yange nangulira akakola tune angulidde kanneeyanziza naŋŋamba aguze kashiba era bwamaze okungulira akakola tune akakashiba ne bakwata ennamba ne bagitaba mu bululu bwentyo MTN olw'okuba nti mbadde muwanguzi wempangulidde mu kunyeenya nempita mu kalulu wentyo nempita mu bakama bange era nga neeyanziza nnyo neeyanzege ddala MTN oye MTN kyaddala ebya MTN byaddala ensi eraba enjuba ekyayaka piki ndikutte misana neeyanziza nnyo ddala ab'MTN.
Get ready for a night of timeless music and unforgettable worship. It's a night with the legendary 𝐬𝐶 right here in Kampala, Uganda. Come witness the voice that has inspired millions around the world for decades. This isn't just another world-class concert, it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience with the most awarded female gospel musician in history. Gather your friends, your family, your entire worship crew, because Kampala is about to experience something it's never seen before on the More Than This tour. It's all happening on the 20th of August at Lugogo Cricket Oval. Gates open at 2 p.m. And you already know, it's going to be massive. Tickets are available online at ccwinans.com/tour. 50,000 for ordinary, 150,000 VIP, and 250,000 VVIP. Please note, there will be no tickets sold at the entrance. More Than This tour with 𝐬𝐶 live in Kampala. Proudly sponsored by NBS TV, Uganda Airlines, New Vision, Isuzu, Rope Telcom, and Power 104.1 FM.
Vibe Nation is back. Join us this 6th of September at the Next Media Park for the ultimate holiday bash. Get in free by simply signing up on the Nexters portal at www.nexters.co.ug. Gets open at 10 a.m. so don't miss out on the vibe. Come, let's take it to the max. Vibe Nation is powered by NBS Plus. NBS Plus, be you.
Get ready for a night of soul, stories, and timeless music. Kenneth Mugabe, live in concert, Tales of Mugabe. This 19th September at the Kampala Serena Hotel. Early bird tickets at 150k VVIP.